Welcome to the Boundaryless HR Experience by Deloitte at the HR Tech Conference. It's been an incredible couple days so far. A lot of energy continues to be on the show floor and in the sessions off the show floor around just this moment for the HR profession and the capabilities that the technology providers are bringing to bear to solve business outcomes. I'm joined right now by Adam Binnie, the Chief Innovation Officer from Visier. Adam, share a little bit about your role and remit at Visier to get us started.
Yeah, so I've been with Visier for a very long time. I ran product for a long time. We built an amazing platform. But about 18 months ago, we saw this AI revolution coming, and we said, we really need to go think about how that's going to transform us, our technology, and we've been very successful in that area. I think we won 2 awards last night, on Tuesday night for V, which is our AI experience as part of our product. But more importantly, we're having to think about how is AI going to transform work and transform workforces in general. And so that's really my remit. My remit is to start thinking about how do we do that differently? Who do we need to work with differently? We're starting to create really foundational alliances with some other people who are also thinking about how is this work transformation going to be, how is it going to materialize inside organizations? And what is the HR function, the people function's role in helping organizations become agile about this transformation? So that's kind of where I spend a lot of my energy.
Fantastic, and it sounds like it's been a lot of fun for you, especially given the momentum in the last 18 months. And Adam, one of the things that you just touched on is really thinking about how work is done differently. In our 2024 Global Human Capital Trends report, Deloitte introduced this concept of boundaryless. How do functions within the business not operate in their individual silos, but work together to solve business problems? And with V, your generative AI assistant, one of the things that Visier is doing is surfacing insights that much faster to business leaders to work together and drive business outcomes. Can you share a little bit, how has the market reception been to V? How are you seeing some of the customers begin to do things differently and really change how work gets done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Visier has always had a mission to understand the people in your organization, work out how that organization should operate and control, and how it connects to the business outcomes you're trying to drive. And so we've always sort of been focused on that and really getting all of that key people insight out to the whole organization.
Absolutely.
There's way too much where people analytics gets trapped inside HR or just for the executive team. We've always believed every people manager, even every employee, has value from that insight. And as we connect that to work data today, we're starting to see that people data augmented with the work data starts to have real impact to every one of those employees, every manager, and really connect people together. And so one of the first things we've just launched at this conference from Visier is our first V boards, as we call them. So that's taking our AI capabilities, integrating it with the ability to provide information hyper-personalized to everybody's needs, using AI to describe that so that people can understand what it means, not just a pretty chart, but what is that chart telling me? How can I action on that chart? And so we call these V boards. And the first one we really deployed was, how do we do that so that the CHRO and the CFO come to a common understanding?
Yep.
So we understand what that workforce cost, often the single largest expense in an organization. How is that worked? How do we have a common understanding of that? And HR have always had a view of people,
Yep.
and finance have their view of people, and we want to bring those together so they're making the most effective decisions. How do I spend my money to create the greatest outcome? And we're working with Deloitte on another one, which is actually connecting the CHRO with the CIO, who's looking at that technology team and how is that team evolving? And that's been something that Deloitte are bringing out based on that same mindset around take the work data, what people do, thinking about where I want that team to be 2 years from now, and working out how do we actually operationalize that transformation in the most effective way, most cost-effective and most efficient way. And so that's kind of what we're really rolling out right now as that sort of next step past what we did with V, which is really about getting everyone access to the information. Yep. Now, how do we bring the information to everyone that is exactly what they need to understand in a way that they can understand it so they can get more agile, change quicker, yep. Go at a much faster pace. We live in a world that's going faster every week, right? I mean, 2 years we've been in this AI revolution. Yep. And Microsoft were on stage with me yesterday talking about the thousands of cycles of innovation that they've already released in 2 years.
Sure.
So we're going to live in a pace where replanning our workforce, changing our vision for our teams, what work people do, is going to be changing monthly, not annually. And so that's going to require this continuous shape shift, this continuous rethinking of the workforce. And we think Visier's perfectly positioned to help people with that agility, because being agile is going to be the superpower that matters much more than the precise, right? Like we need to be able to change quickly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we've been launching here.
Fantastic, and congrats on the awards with V. I think everyone's very excited with the announcement for the V boards, focused on certain C-suite executive roles and surfacing the right information to them. And Adam, it ties to something that Deloitte fundamentally believes with the Industry Advantage announcement that we made early this year around our $2 billion investment in bringing specific industry insights forward. And how can Visier do the same thing, knowing that a generic CHRO set of insights looks differently for life sciences versus energy versus technology sector, right? They've got different workforce segments that they tackle. I think the power of what you all do with surfacing those hyper-personalized insights to the executive role, accommodating for the industry and sector to solve those business outcomes is critical. So, Adam, you've had a lot of the excitement, you've heard from a lot of customers in the last couple of days as well. What are some of the things that customers are asking you all for next on the roadmap, right? What are those next round of business outcomes and challenges, whether that's external labor market data, internal, from HR, finance, IT, et cetera, to continue to drive those business impacts?
I think the most compelling one that we see, and again, there's everyone who's in our space, people analytics, they're on a journey, right, a maturity journey. And when we think about that maturity journey, some people are still just getting started, and Visier really brings this massive accelerator, get you there really, really quickly, jump yourself to sort of, mature capable, right? And we've seen that organizations that have foundationally good people analytics are 3 times more likely to achieve their business outcomes. So that's just the foundational level. We've seen research on that from Josh Burson's company that shows 3 times more likely to achieve it. But as we look at our more leading edge customers, the people who are starting to really push the boundaries, work with us on that sort of innovation edge, and we know innovation is the energy that will make all of this matter, right? Those people are really thinking about how to get from understanding the people, knowing who your people are, how much they're paid, who they work for, how long they've been here, how we recruit and so on, are moving into that work context. What do they do? How do I measure what they do? How do I understand what they do? How do I connect what they do to who's doing that work so that we can rethink that? And so there's a great example, right? If I've got a recruiter and I can actually take all of the processing from the recordings of all of the interviews, can I understand what makes that recruiter more effective? How do I refocus their time? And we're really starting to look at that AI transformation of the employee experience, meaning how do we take away the mundane tasks, but also the business process changes. How do we rethink who does what and where? And so that's really the big story, I think. And the big story, it's very diffuse at some level because work data is everywhere, but it is there. We have all this amazing data about work. What we need to do is connect it back to understand people. I was using an example the other day of an airline. They really are struggling to find people who can do mechanical engineering on airplanes. It takes a long time to train those people, and it creates a huge lead time that you have to hire people for. But if the business suddenly decides it wants to add more aircraft, well, it might be that I have to hire a bunch of people to maintain those aircraft 4 years ago. Right. That becomes a barrier, but only by connecting the work on those aircraft with the people and the people problem do you end up having that holistic view where those two people can actually come together. So that's kind of where we're seeing everybody go, and it is very industry specific. It is very unique to the work area, to the types of jobs and types of roles. But we think the people function needs to lean into that conversation. How do I work with each business unit and say, well, in your area, it's these job roles that are going to be the most disrupted or the most augmented or the most optimized. And in a world of amazing talent scarcity, and we really are struggling with supply of talent, I think it's going to be absolutely critical that we can connect work to people to produce that outcome.
Absolutely. Adam, something that you've shared a couple times is the time to value. Walking around the expo hall floor, I think almost every vendor is talking about productivity savings, cost savings, time to value, because in the generative AI dialogue or the AI dialogue at large, there's been a big focus on our organizations realizing their investment, right? And can you share a little bit about how quickly, if an organization engages with Visier and begins to deploy, how quickly does an organization typically see time to value with your solution?
So we have, it's a huge spectrum, right? Because the reality is people are on a journey when they come to people analytics from very basic to very complete. But we try to get people up and running in a couple of months, right? Where they really have brought their robust core understanding of their workforce, and they'll have that really great people insight really quickly. What might have taken a couple of years to build out a data warehouse and create data flows, we can do incredibly compressed into a few months. But most of our customers never stop evolving that environment. They're constantly expanding, whether it's into their hourly workforces, whether it's into time and attendance information or absenteeism information. Maybe it's on benefits and what benefits are effective. So there's this huge spectrum of what they can deliver, and of course now they can continue to extend that themselves, and that's where they're sort of going into this area by area, looking at work data, connecting people to get those answers of productivity. So really, really quickly, we can get you to a place where you're more agile, and given this cycle we're in right now, 2 years we've been in AI, and we're probably on phase 3 already. I think it's essential that people think about that urgency. Time is the enemy, right? We have to go faster.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one of the things you said is, it's not a discrete thing. It's not 2 months and you're done. It is a journey, right? And how do you have to adopt that mindset to make it a sustainable focus to continue to deploy more solution, bring more data sets together to continue to drive value. Adam, one other thing that you've touched on is the work data, the different types of data that sit in different places. And I think a lot of conversation relative to AI capabilities has been, how do you address the data as the foundation, good data in, driving those powerful insights out? Can you share a little, how is Visier helping organizations go through some of that data quality, data cleanliness, to make sure that the insights being given to business leaders are of highest impact?
So I mean, this has always been a challenge in analytics, is how do you get good data? I mean, the simplest answer has always been exercise it, right? Like if I always use the analogy, which is, you don't go to yoga because you're flexible, you go to yoga to become flexible. And you don't use analytics because your data's clean, you do analytics because it cleans your data.
Love that.
And so, it's very important that organizations recognize that you'll never have clean data if you focus on the systems of record, on the process platforms. They're always going to get the process to complete. But when you start to analyze that data, and instantly you can see where that data is flawed or the history's wrong or people are in the wrong whatever, then you get this really positive feedback loop which gets that data cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And then when we think about AI, there's two things we have to be very conscious of in data quality with AI. If we train an LLM, for example, on bad data, it's going to be very, very, very hard for us to retrain. We'll have to just basically retrain it at some point. And so there's a challenge there, and of course if you train it on bad data, it's going to hallucinate, it's going to come back with the wrong responses, and that can be very, very dangerous. The way that we've done what we still have is our core is this very robust environment where the data is in this positive cycle, it's standardized, it's normalized, we can identify where it's wrong and start to fix it and repair it. And then the AI is leveraging knowledge of the data, not the data itself, so that as we improve the data, our answers get better and better and better. And so we're always answering factually rather than guessing, if you like, hallucinating. And so it's been kind of very much a core part of our vision is, how you use the data, whether you're allowing the LLM to actually get access to it, which of course has lots of privacy issues as well, but you have therefore got to keep it very clean, and of course the ability to evolve that data, clean that data, and still be able to use it. So I think that's very much a key part of it, and that is what analytics is for, right? Analytics is you look at it and you go, this isn't true. How do I fix it? And then being able to fix it so that it never is wrong again is really the critical driver. And so analytics is how you clean your data. You don't clean your data so that you can do analytics.
And you don't go to yoga because you're flexible, you go to get flexible and maintain that flexibility. I'm keeping that analogy in the back of my mind going forward, Adam.
But every time you go to yoga and you see all those flexible people, you're like, should I be here? But yes, you should be there. That's
right, it's a journey. It's a journey, as you said. So Adam, you've been spending a lot of time at Visier, now in this Chief Innovation Officer role with customers in the market. Any last parting thoughts that you would share with organizations for how they either start their people analytics journey or what they should be considering if they're contemplating Visier?
I think the AI journey is very important. I think that, like anything new, we look at this and we say, oh, this is something new, and there's a choice we're all going to make. Whether we lean in and start to really grasp what it means, think about it, take some risk, and maybe we don't always make the right choice, but we're starting to think about how to move forward, right? And then the other choice is like, well, let's wait, let's be cautious, let's be very pragmatic. Now, I think we live in that world right now. We're right on the edge of this transformation. I think that people organizations have got to lean in. They've got to decide that it's their role to think about how work gets re-architected and redefined, and they should really be there as the natural partner for every part of their business, as those business leaders are embracing AI, because it's the only way they're going to solve their business challenges and stay competitive. And I think that's the last thing for me is always, I sit in these, I meet all these customers, and they're like, are we ready? Is it safe? Can I move forward? And it's like, it may not be any of those things, but if you do not embrace it and engage with it, it's not going to become those things, or worse, it will become those things without you. And so that's probably my parting thing. How do you lean in and make it an opportunity for the people organization to have real impact to the business, and so get out there and start to connect with the business. It sounds like a technical problem, sounds like a technical disruption, AI, but in a lot of ways it's a work disruption, and that's about people, and it's a people challenge.
It's almost a callback to the Michael Jordan quote, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right?
Absolutely.
And I think the biggest risk right now for organizations is if you're going to do something with AI and you don't actually have your business leaders or your workforce using it, why did you make the investment?
Exactly, and it's very much a people challenge.
Adam, thank you very much for joining us. Folks, thank you. Boundaryless HR Experience by Deloitte. Adam, the Chief Innovation Officer from Visier. Obviously an incredibly exciting time for AI and the power that data and insights can bring to the business that much faster to drive business outcomes, hyper-personalized for the executive role, for the industry, for the workforce segment. Strongly encourage checking them out. Deloitte is a proud alliance partner with Visier. Adam, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.